All right, so good afternoon and good evening and good morning to everyone again, and welcome to the Champions of Human Resources Management September 2025 Mentoring Webinar Edition. I would like to welcome our existing members. I didn't want to say old members, we have to be sensitive to the language, and to our new and fresh members and participants who are joining us for the first time. Welcome to everyone. My 24-karat gold 18 diamond studded Rolex says it is now about 6 minutes past the hour 4 o'clock Nigerian time or West African time, and it's about time for us to kick off our session for today. As usual, I will be sharing my screen and taking us through the presentation and the content for today. And I would, as always, introduce myself. My name is Omag Bishe Baro, and everybody calls me Bishe for short. And I'm the founder and chief executive of Learning Impact Nigeria, our company that puts together the Champions of HR program and the Champions of HR mentoring platform that I will introduce to you shortly and provide you more details of. So, welcome again, everyone. I'm sharing my screen now. Yes. And I believe you can all see my screen. So this is about the 24th or so edition of our program. We've been running for about 2 years now to the month. And I would, as always, like to start by introducing our company and the Champions of HR program for the benefit of our new joiners, as well as a refresher for our existing members and partners on this platform. Learning Impact is an Abuja-based strategy consulting and organizational effectiveness firm that was founded in 2010. Our core areas of focus, as you can see on the screen, include corporate training and coaching solutions, strategy and organizational development consulting solutions, where we help organizations to build their strategy, and we also help HR teams and the HR function to be strengthened through a variety of interventions that we offer. We also offer HR technology solutions. For example, our very popular 360-degree feedback solutions, as well as some of our proprietary HR technology platforms, like the LD Planner that helps people with managing learning and development and automating the learning and development process, as well as the P Rater, which is a performance management software, the S Tracker, that is a strategy management and implementation software, amongst many others, and plenty in the pipeline coming out in that area. We also provide solutions in e-learning and knowledge management through our flagship online EFICO website that is a massive um, uh, open enrollment platform which offers micro learning courses. And we also do e-learning conversion and e-learning content development, as well as building learning management systems and customizing learning management systems for organizations. We also have one of our foremost products in the knowledge management space called the e-paper vendor, which is the largest provider of the complete digital version of Nigerian newspapers so that you can read your newspapers everywhere you go, as we say. And then finally, but not exhaustively, we also have our life skills education programs and resources that focus on helping our children, our youth, and our parents to build life skills, essential life skills in leadership and personal effectiveness, in communication skills, creativity and innovation, political literacy, and civic education, as well as communication skills and financial literacy, if I modeled it up. For our children and youth, because we believe that these essential life skills will help them now that they are children and young people in school, in university campuses, and very importantly, it will equip them to be better as adults and to be more independent and productive members of society. We find that in our corporate training work, that there is a lot of gap among adults in the workplace, with these essential life skills. And some of that gap is because when we were in school, we're not exposed to these life skills. And so we are working with schools, with parents, with families, and with interested individuals and organizations across the African continent and everywhere in the world who want to support children with life skills education. Our commitment at Learning Impact really is driven by our vision, which is to deploy the best quality of indigenous learning resources that are Afrocentric, business solutions, and technology tools to support organizations and individuals to be better. The core of our proposition is really around to be better. And our goal is to use all that we have to positively transform our clients and our larger community with solutions which speak to their nuanced needs at a price that they can afford and which compete with similar solutions anywhere else in the world. So that's really what our company Learning Impact is and is about. And now I will quickly introduce the Champions of HR program, especially for the benefit of those of you who are joining us for the first time. The idea behind this program is to put together a network of young to mid-career human resources management professionals and provide them with mentoring and support to grow their careers as human resources management professionals. The focus of the program is to build the strategic HR capabilities in these professionals so that they can add value to themselves and their organizations and the larger community beyond being just operational. So, one of the key things that this program focuses on is not the operational aspect of HR, but indeed the strategic aspect of HR. So, we want to build strategic HR capabilities. And the challenge and the background is that most HR activities, unfortunately, are very operational. And HR can add much more value if HR became more strategic. So, all of the content of the Champions of HR program is really about and around started off with monthly webinar that takes place on the third Saturday of each month, like today, since October 2023. The group also includes an active WhatsApp group, and this week we are just launching, and some of you would see it, our Facebook group, and hopefully we would extend that to LinkedIn so that we can actually grow our membership and grow our impact and our desire to transform the HR profession and the HR practice from being operational to becoming much more strategic. Okay. As usual, during the course of our program, we encourage our participants and actually insist that you should mute your microphones until such a time that we are having interactions and discussions, and you'll be called or you'll be given the opportunity to ask a question, to make a contribution towards a conversation. We would really like for you to put your microphones on silent. It will help with the delivery of the program, and it will also ensure that the recording that we'll be making available on YouTube subsequently will be of a good quality. Okay, so we really appreciate and thank you for following that process with us. Very importantly, like I said, during the course of the teaching on the subject matter for today, which is developing and implementing workplace coaching and mentoring programs. During this delivery, please take time to note down your comments. If you feel like expressing how you feel on the chat, with an emoji or with your actual words, feel free to do so. If you have something that you want to ask, you can put it on the chat. From time to time, I would look at the chat on the message board and I'll be able to respond to it and speak to whatever it is. And of course, you would have the opportunity to have your voices heard, to share your thoughts about what we are doing and what we are learning, and to interact with the content and with other participants fully. And at such time, you will be invited to do so. So again, welcome everyone. I see a few more people have joined us as we have started. Today, we are focusing on how to develop and implement workplace coaching and mentoring programs in our various organizations. And on the screen, I have our high-level learning objectives. Is there someone with a beautiful voice? I need to get a drink of water. Is there somebody with a beautiful voice? Preferably a female voice. I've been hearing a guy's voice for a while now. Who would like to read out our learning objectives for us so that I can reward the person with a virtual chocolate? Anybody interested? Yes. Banke Adirunke, please go ahead.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Good evening, sir. So our learning objectives for this are to explore the theoretical foundations of workplace coaching and mentoring to unearth its importance and best practices, to explain the constructs of coaching, mentoring, workplace coaching, and mentoring programs and contrast them. To identify the strategic reasons for workplace coaching and mentoring programs. 4, to discuss the key considerations in the design and implementation of these programs. 5, to describe the metrics that can be used to measure the efficacy and impact of these programs. 6, to explore case studies of Nigerian organizations where these programs were implemented.
Excellent. Excellent. Adironke, you sound like you would like Toblerone, a Toblerone kind of lady. So I'm going to go into my bag of virtual chocolates and bring out that Toblerone and toss it to you. It's quite heavy. Did you catch it? You have to unwrap it.
So much for your generosity. Yes,
You
I
have to
caught.
unwrap it. Then you say, and you make everybody jealous in addition to my generosity.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Adirunke. You have saved me some pressure in my chest. So let's move on. Like Adirunke said, one of the first things we want to do, as we always do on this program, is to explore the theoretical foundations. And for us, the science of management, the science of human resources management, and the science of organizational behavior are very important. One of the things we're very passionate about at Learning Impact, and it's one of my personal passions, is ensuring that we can bridge the gap between theory and practice. And I talk about this every time I get the opportunity to address an audience, especially an audience of professionals like myself, that there is the theory, there's the science of management, of HR, of organizational behavior. Studies have been done, research has been done. But here's what we found, that there seems to be a gap between what that research says and what it asks us to do and what we actually do. So it's very important. And one of the things that we have learned over time is that when we sit together as professionals to discuss the practice of management, the practice of HR, the practice of organizational behavior, we should try to reflect on the theory behind the practice that we are doing. This way, practitioners understand that there is a science to what we are doing. There is evidence-based management. These things we do, coaching and mentoring, talent management, performance management, all of these things are not just fads. They are not just things that people do because it's trending. These are important, scientifically proven, evidence-based interventions. And it is absolutely important that we understand the theoretical foundations so that we can make that connection on a consistent basis between the science and the practice of management. I put it this way so that I would hopefully land the point. Imagine medicine without science. Imagine if doctors were just doing trial and error. Germ theory was the first breakthrough in science, in medical science, that helped to create, all these things like penicillin and so on and so forth, that are now the foundation for pharmaceuticals, for pharmacology, for medical treatment, and so on and so forth. So imagine the practice of medicine without the science, without the theory. But that's what we are doing in HR and management. We are ignoring the science, we are ignoring the theory, and we just think that we are just doing what is trending. No, it is not about what is trending. So, what is the science that supports coaching and mentoring in the workplace? There are a number of theories that try to explain the importance of coaching and mentoring practices in organizations, but I would just like to highlight, as you can see on the screen, just 6 of these theories. All right. The first one is called social learning theory. And social learning theory just proposes that people tend to learn better and enjoy learning experiences when they learn it with other people, when they learn with others and through others. Okay. So if you think about coaching and mentoring, especially in the workplace context, then you've got people learning together, learning with their supervisors as their mentors and their coaches and so on. And that really helps them to learn better. Adult learning theory, another very powerful theory, also says that adults learn by connecting to their experiences. What are the experiences of the mentor? The mentor is sharing their experiences. The coach is sharing their experiences, and the coachee or the mentee who is participating in this intervention is also bringing their own real life experiences and real life problems and challenges and goals, which is really what coaching and mentoring is about, as we will find out shortly. Self-determination theory from Deci and Ryan says that people are motivated by a sense of autonomy, competence, and relatedness. That autonomy, relatedness, and competence tends to drive people's motivation. And that higher level of motivation leads to higher productivity and higher results. Now, coaching and mentoring, especially coaching, is really tied to autonomy. It's really about you determining where you want to go, how you want to go there, and receiving support from a coach to support you. Mentoring is also very deterministic. It's about you building particular competencies, which is the third part of the self-determination theory variables, that autonomy, relatedness, and competence. So these are very strong foundations theoretically that support the practice of workplace coaching and mentoring. In addition to the social learning theory, adult learning theory, and self-determination theory, there are still 3 more theories that I would just share with you. The next one is called the leader-member exchange theory. And this is really about the fact that motivation and performance in organizations is enhanced when leaders and their followers or their co-leaders or their team members, when the mentor and the mentee, the coach and the coachee have a good relationship and have a relationship that is built on trust and mutual respect. And oftentimes, if done properly, not oftentimes actually, if done properly, coaching and mentoring programs create that solid relationship where leaders and their team members can build a solid relationship that is built on trust and on mutual respect. Transformational leadership theory is the theory that speaks to the fact that leadership, the purpose of leadership is to transform people, to transform organizations. And if you think about coaching and mentoring, that's exactly what they do. They transform our organizations, they transform our people, they help us to achieve amazing goals and opportunities that we otherwise may not have been able to achieve. So these are some of the, again, powerful, how would I put it, powerful theories. And I've left the last one, perhaps the most powerful of them all, and very contemporary, is something called positive organizational scholarship. And this is an evolving area of human resources management and organizational behavior that talks about the fact that the best organizations create an atmosphere for people to thrive, for people to be self-determined, for people to achieve their goals and their ambitions. And if you think about what coaching and mentoring offers, it's exactly those things. Positive organizational studies focus organizations on how to create that powerful environment in the workplace where people can thrive, where people can achieve all of the things that they want. And coaching and mentoring, when we define it and we explain it further, you would see really helps to drive this concept of the positive organization and what we call positive organizational scholarship. Okay, so dear friends, these are some of the theoretical foundations. Remember, and if you think about these theories, don't take my word for it. Go and Google it, go on AI, ask some more questions, do some research, and learn more about these theories. And as we go together in this session today, you will find that you will see the relationship between some of the postulations of these theories and the practice of workplace coaching and mentoring that we will be sharing. Okay. For us at Learning Impact, we always like to emphasize this. It's not about theory. So these are the theoretical foundations. We are not speaking today because we have studied theories only. We are speaking today because we have put these theories into practice with our different clients, with our different projects, and we have some experience that we want to share, and we are happy to share. So beyond the theories now, let's jump into what our practical experience has been on the subject matter of workplace coaching and mentoring. And before we do that, we still want to make that connection to the theories. So let's highlight some of those 4 reasons why workplace coaching and mentoring is very important, drawing on the theory and also connecting to our experience. The first thing I think is that transformational and evolving role of managers. Do you know that in those days, I mean, you certainly know this, we started off calling managers bosses, isn't it? Then we started calling them supervisors. Then we moved on to calling them line managers. You know what I mean? And it will surprise you that in some organizations today, they are changing and replacing the word with coach, with mentor. They are saying, oh, mentor Bishe, coach Ginika, mentor, Angela, mentor Anika, coach Nafisa. That is the language that some organize. You know why? Because they've realized that that is the high point of being a leader. You're not a boss where you operate just because of your title. You are not a supervisor. You are not a manager. That the real value that leaders play in the organizational context when they have a position is through coaching and mentoring. So now organizations are changing the word line manager to coach. Very importantly and connected to that is the positive organization imperative, which I mentioned earlier, just talking about the fact that we want to create positive organizations. We want to create a better workplace where people thrive, where people flourish, the actual language of positive organizational studies. And in order to do that, there is nothing more compelling, there is nothing more profound, there's nothing more efficacious. And I'm speaking lots of big grammar, just trying to explain this powerful point. There is nothing that will create much more impact towards creating a positive organization than coaching and mentoring. And I will explain as we go along. There is also a dire need in organizations to ensure that we have a pipeline of future managers and leaders. There is no better way to ensure a future and a healthy pipeline of a pipeline of healthy future managers than through coaching and mentoring. And we would explain how that works out, but I'm sure you can start to make the connections. And finally, organizations, of course, are in the pursuit of sustainable competitive advantage. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no way that you are going to grow, innovate, and achieve sustainable competitive advantage in any industry, whether in the private sector, in the public sector, or the not for profit sector, if you don't have quality leaders, if you don't have a deliberate way of building leadership capability. And there is no better way. Organizations we do training, we have policies, we have performance management, we have all sorts of things and that we enact to help build leaders. But I tell you that there is nothing more powerful in building leadership and building positive and strong and vibrant organizations that will achieve sustainable competitive advantage, be leaders in their industry, than to use coaching and mentoring. Very powerful. And this is why coaching and mentoring is important. Before we pause to get some feedback from you, I can imagine that, some of these conversations are really getting us to think and wonder and challenge and so on. Let's do a quick definition of some of the concepts. It's very important. And once we do that, we will pause, reflect on everything that we have learned so far through some interventions with you, and then we will proceed to the second half of our discussion for today. So, what is workplace coaching and mentoring? Of course, before we can describe or try to define what workplace coaching and mentoring is, we need to start off by just taking out the first two things: coaching and mentoring. So, what's coaching? There are many ways to define things, and oftentimes in the social sciences, we suffer from what we call the definition problem, so you have to be careful. For example, the word coach is used in football, it's used in athletics. I was watching the World Athletics Championships over the week. Very interesting to see our very own Toby Express, the world record holder in the 100 meters, what do you call it? Hurdles, do a very good job of winning the silver medal and, running a very fast time. And she has a coach. And when I listened to her interview, she talked about her coach. And sometimes sports coaching is very different from organizational coaching. And it's important that we understand that difference. And sometimes people mix up all these words. So it's important that we put them in their proper perspective, at least for the purpose of what we are trying to do today. Coaching is the process of working with someone to identify and clarify that person's goals, to help the person to explore the various creative options and ideas to achieve those goals, and to hold them accountable for achieving the goals. It's on the screen. There are hundreds of thousands of different definitions, but generally they congregate around this within the context of organizational effectiveness. Mentoring is an intervention that supports an individual to achieve a specific capability or a specific position based on your own experience and your own capacity as the mentor in that specific area. Now you can see a lot of words in there that I am emphasizing as we listen to it, because those words are critical. They're very important, and I'd like us to talk about that shortly. Workplace coaching and mentoring programs, therefore, are interventions that use the internal human resources within the organization to facilitate and drive coaching and mentoring activities to achieve certain strategic organizational goals. So there you are, ladies and gentlemen. We've defined coaching, we've defined mentoring, and we've defined workplace coaching and mentoring programs. So I'm now going to throw the floor open to some discussions. Let's talk. Yeah? So here are some questions that could guide us in our discussions. And perhaps if you have other questions. Question one, what keywords or elements stood out in these definitions for you? Question two, what are the differences and similarities between coaching and mentoring? Question three, what are the key actions involved in a coaching relationship? And what are the key actions in a mentoring relationship? This is also an opportunity, in addition to trying to respond to these questions, to ask questions about the theoretical foundations, to ask questions about the importance of coaching and mentoring, and to seek any clarifications or make any contributions that you want that will enhance our discussions here today. This is just about the midpoint of our delivery. So there's still more to come as we captured in the learning objectives, where we will try and look at some of the deeper context and practices around coaching and mentoring. But for now, the floor is open. Feel free to chime in. You can raise your hand, you can put on your microphone, so long as it's not disorderly, and we can listen and learn from you. And there are virtual chocolates to give out. Anybody? Question? Comment? How about the comments on the screen? The questions on the screen? Who would like to give a stab at it? Yes, Anika. Thank you. One of our most active participants.
Hi.
Hello, Anika.
Good morning from my end. It's morning here.
This morning in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes,
Yes.
it is. What stood out for me in the definition of coaching is that it's um, you want to clarify the goals of the individual, which means that the individual already have their goals and their ideas, and you're just there helping them bring it out or to identify it for them, and you're going to assist them, as you said in the definition, with
Mm,
creating options or avenues to achieve those goals. So it's a person who's already there in that
mm,
space,
mm,
and all
mm.
they need is your guidance to help them stay or get on track to achieving that specific goal. And also, you're not just going to just leave them there, you're going to hold them accountable. So, of course, you're going to check in with them and make sure that, yes, they are doing what they said that they set out to do. And
Oh,
yeah, for mentoring, though, um, what stood out for me in mentoring is that the person is fresh, they are new to this world, they have an idea of where they want to be, but they don't know how to get there. And that is what the mentor comes that is what the mentor does, right? They look at it and they tell them, well, they're going to use their own personal experience, I
very
presume,
good.
and tell them this is how you get to that stage and show them and guide them accordingly, because as I said, they're new to it and they're going to need your guidance every step of the way. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. And Anika, you really captured the essence of it as always. One of the key things you said was that to coach somebody, the person has to be in that space. The person has to have a goal. The person has to be interested. And oftentimes with some of our clients, they say, oh, so my staff need coaching. And I say to them, are you really sure your staff need coaching? Because what you are describing to me is people that are not even sure that they know their left from their right. They're not even sure that they even want to be in your organization. They're not even sure that they even want to pursue a career in that particular area. So they are not candidates for coaching. Maybe they may need some training and some capacity building. Maybe they may even need career counseling, so that they can figure out maybe they are on the wrong track. But coaching is really for people who are goal oriented, who have a focus, who have priorities, and now need the discipline to help them to achieve it. Yeah. And whereas mentoring, like you said, speaks to particular areas where people may not have very much experience, but you, as the mentor, can help them because you have walked through that path yourself before. Excellent. Thank you very much. Somebody asked for us to go through the definitions again. They are on the screen and have been on the screen for a couple of minutes. Please note that the slides and the recorded video will be made available to you also. But I think that by now and through the excellent input from Anika, we now have a clearer sense of what coaching and mentoring are. So thanks, Anika, for taking a stab at that question. You sound like Mars, men are from Mars, men are from Venus. Is it the other way around? I'm not too sure, but whatever. Here is your virtual Mars chocolate. Receive it catch it, unwrap it, and make us all jealous. Thank you, Anika. Anybody else? I see a question from Priya Adams, and Priya is asking, how do you handle organizational coaching when you have like 20 people in your coaching class from different departments? Well, that's a very interesting question, and I hope that I understand the context of your question, but I'll give it the best that I can. So if you think about a coaching program, the best coaching programs would be one-on-one coaching, where you can actually have a coach work with one person at a time. I mean, you could have 10 or 15 coaching clients, but the best practice is for you to see each of them one at a time. So I imagine that you may be talking about group coaching, which is valuable and which is useful so long as everybody within the group has pretty much the same goal. Like, for example, we have done group coaching for people who all wanted to get promoted. So all the people who are desirous of getting a promotion or who are qualified based on their vesting to be promoted are all in a room, and then we can coach all of them about what they need to do to achieve that collective goal of being promoted. Yeah. But otherwise, I imagine that it should be more like one-on-one, and everybody's from different departments will have different goals that they want to achieve. Again, I see Adako is asking, it is not on the screen. I imagine you're talking about the definitions of coaching and mentoring. I have put it back on the screen, but we were, interacting on the reflection questions, and that's why the reflection questions were on. So I don't know if Prayer Adams, that really helps. But the idea would be if it's a one-on-one coaching intervention, that you would actually find time, you would allocate coaches to the different people. So coaching is not training. It's not like a training session where you put everybody in a room and say, we are training you. Coaching is about exploration. It's about goals. It's about holding people accountable. It's about evaluation of options and planning and getting people to think for a change. One of the most amazing coaching books that I read was a book called Think for a Change, meaning that, we tend to teach people, give people fish. We don't show them how to fish. We tend to think for the people around us. We need to think, teach them and coach them on how to think um, for themselves. Sure, pray you can explain, and that's maybe you want to put on your microphone. The floor is open. Yeah.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Priya Adams.
Yes.
So
Hi.
in my organization, we have like 130 staff. So like some of our Monday meetings, we divide them into like 4 groups where a particular coach or a particular person, which if they seem to be a coach, will take like 20, 30 people on different topics, generally not specific to a department. But I was selected as one of the people to coach the class, but I seem to struggle with being able to help all of them since it's like once in a month and everybody has to come together to do the coaching session instead of one-on-one with you where you have to ask them what they need. So for the last one, I just picked like a random topic I just picked something on career growth, which I felt was okay for everybody. But I'm struggling to understand how this coaching session will help everybody in the long run if we keep going about random topics instead of individual topics. So I needed tips on how to be able to handle that kind of coaching session where we have multiple people from different departments in the same coaching class.
Excellent. And thanks for the clarification. Here's what I would recommend. One thing you could do for the organization is maybe not to randomize the groups so that you could have like that particular coach, like yourself, Pray, attached to 20 people consistently, right? Because it sounded like, you could come this week and get another set of 20 people and mix and match and so on and so forth. That may not be very effective. The second thing that I would recommend, which is the more important recommendation, prayer, would be to think about using like worksheets, right? So imagine if, okay, the mix is per quarter, not too bad. Imagine if you could give people a worksheet in advance, let them start to think about the goal they want to achieve, right? Because if not, what you are calling a coaching intervention, let me just make this point, may just end up being training. Yeah. So it just sounds like you are offering training to people. And that's a very good thing. There's nothing wrong. Like what we're doing right now, it's training. But coaching is very different. So once we are using that word coaching, in fact, and if our goal is to coach, then we need to come back to the real definition of what coaching is. And then you could give people a worksheet where you could say to them, okay, before we come into this session, think about your goals for the next quarter. Yeah? Think about your goals for the next quarter. What are those goals? How would you like to achieve these goals? What are the various options for you? So that you could use that worksheet, for example, for 20 people, and you'll be coaching them because as you throw the question prompt at them, they are responding, and at an individual level, you are coaching them, although they are in a group. So, although they may have different goals, you are able to speak to each person's goal by just using some group facilitation techniques like well structured questions that speak to everybody's nuance. Yeah. So that's the type of thing. The third recommendation I would give would be perhaps your organization, and which is one of the things that we would talk about, and it's from our experience, is your organization needs to invest in coaching for the coach, as well as in coaching skills training for the coaches. So it's one thing to just come in an organization and say, okay, guys, we're doing coaching. Have we, number one, built the capabilities of the coaches, these managers that we are transforming into coaches? Have we taught them how to be coaches? Do they have all these tools? Do they have a coaching toolkit? You know, and then they themselves, have they benefited from coaching? Because the best way to learn how to coach somebody else beyond the classroom training of coaching is to actually, get some coaching yourself. Because once you get some coaching yourself, then you would see the coaching methodologies and the coaching frameworks and the coaching protocols, and you will be able to apply them correctly within the organization and to your coaches. Yeah. Nkechinyere, was writing on what I was saying, that maybe it could have just been a knowledge sharing session, maybe not a coaching session. So maybe what you want to do to transform what you have, pray, into a real coaching program is to think about these three recommendations. I think the first one, you've said that you currently do it on a quarterly basis, which is good. It's not too much change. And then think about the other two and see how you possibly can implement and reflect that in your organization. Thank you for the very practical question. And it's helped us to delve into some of the content that is still ahead of us. So I recall that Adaku was concerned about the definitions. I hope the definitions are on the screen and that we can see the definitions. But like I promised, the definitions and all of that will be made available. Thank you very much, Priya. You're welcome. And again, thanks for that excellent question. In fact, it's deserving of a chocolate. Yeah, I think I'm going to send you some. What's the name of that one that has chocolate, coconut inside it? You just seemed coconutty. Do you know what I'm talking about? Is it Bounty? Yeah, enjoy some Bounty. Yes, I know you like Bounty. You see, immediately you remember the name. As that's one of the gifts I have. God has endowed me with the capacity to know the type of chocolate that people want to eat. Ha ha ha. That's such a great talent. All right. Any more questions, contributions, feedback on the discussion questions that we have posed? Yeah. So what are the key actions in coaching and mentoring? Let me just say this, and I was hoping somebody would bring it up, that coaching is non-prescriptive. Let's do the contrast. Coaching is non-prescriptive. Coaching does not prescribe. The job of a coach is to explore, is to challenge, is to support, it's to hold you accountable. Coaching in its best form does not prescribe. However, sometimes a coach may need to prescribe. When, for example, you are talking with your coachee and maybe the person is veering off on a dangerous angle, you want to bring the person back and prescribe to the person, right? You may also see an opportunity to prescribe where maybe there's some indecision or some level of uncertainty with what you are currently exploring. And you can say to the party, to the coachee, I'm taking off my coaching hat now, and I want to prescribe for you. I want to share with you my own experience. But coaching and coaches do not necessarily need to have experience in a particular domain. So, for example, I could coach somebody to become a president of a country. I could have clients, and I have clients whose ambitions are political, and I haven't held political office, but I can coach them. I can coach someone to become I can coach an athlete. I can coach Toby to become a more effective athlete. I don't need to have athletic experience. All I need to do is to be able to help her to identify her goals, evaluate the different options that she wants, and to hold her accountable for the actions and commitments that she has made. So, coaching is non prescriptive and it doesn't require prior experience in a particular domain. The only thing required is that you should understand how coaching works, which is the feedback that I was sharing with Priya and her colleagues. Mentoring, on the other hand, is prescriptive. It is very prescriptive. Mentoring is prescribes what you should do step by step. Mentoring is a hand-holding activity, and it can only be effective as a result of experience. So, whereas I can coach someone to be president, I cannot mentor someone to be president because I have never been president of a country before. So, I can coach you to aspire towards becoming president, but I can't mentor you in the presidential function because I've never been a president. Olusegun Obasanjo can mentor you. Goodluck Jonathan can mentor you. You know what I mean? So many of our presidents are late now. Yakubu Gowon can mentor you. But besides that, the only person that can mentor you to become a HR leader is somebody who has been a leader in HR. However, someone who has no HR experience can coach you. That is why this program is called the Champions of HR Mentoring Program, because the person who is the mentor, in this case myself, is somebody who has built previous experience and expertise in this particular area. Yeah, so it's important we understand the differences. So what we want to create are leaders, managers who can coach and who can mentor, right? But we need to understand the difference, that there is a context for coaching and there is a different context for mentoring. Oftentimes we use the words, like they are the same thing, but they are not. And it's important to know the difference, because with different people, you may need to coach them. With different people, they may need mentoring. Yeah. So let's delve into that, because that really pushes us to the next thing that I want us to explore, which is, why do we do workplace coaching and mentoring? The number one reason why we don't do it, please, let's pay attention to this, and this is where a lot of organizations get it wrong, is that it is a fad. FAD. It is a fashion statement. It's trending. Everybody's up to it, so let's do it. No, we're not doing it because everybody is doing it. There must be a compelling strategic reason why you want to invest in workplace coaching and mentoring. And from our experience, I'd like to share with you about 8 of those potential important reasons. The first is that you want to get results. There is a level of passion that you want to ignite in your organization, especially amongst the younger population. You have younger employees, you want to ignite and fuel some passion, some creativity and innovation. beyond just people showing up at work every day and getting instructions from their bosses. You want to use that transformational power of coaching and mentoring to drive business results. And business results happen when people get passionate, when people get creative, when people get innovative. So that's a good reason to do workplace coaching and mentoring. Another good reason is to create a strong leadership and succession pipeline. So you tell yourself in your organization that, look, to grow this organization, think about organizations like retail supermarkets, So you want to grow your supermarket chain. Currently, you have 5 supermarkets, 3 in Lagos and 2 in Abuja, and you want to grow to every state capital. And you say to yourself, look, we even have the funding from private equity people, from venture capitalists. We have the funding, it's sitting there. And in the next 2 years, we are rolling out 30-something branches. But to roll out those 30-something branches, guess what? We need leaders. So what do? Do we go and buy leaders from outside? Or do we look at the people inside who understand our culture, who understand our business and our nuance? And do we then coach and mentor them so that they can become the head of distribution, so that they can become the head of retail operations, the senior vice president of finance, and so on and so forth? Aha, this is a strategic imperative. And then you say coaching and mentoring will support it. Can you see what I'm doing now? So it is not just flimsy reasoning. It's not, everybody said, I went for a course, they said that we should do coaching and mentoring. So therefore, management, let's do it. No, what you are doing as a HR person is picking up the signals of where the organization is going and saying to yourself that the power of coaching and mentoring, when unleashed in this organization now, will help us to achieve that strategic purpose that is really large. So if you want to improve your onboarding program for employees, think about an organization that, is massive on recruitment. Yeah. So think about that organization that is expanding into new branches, taking on new employees, right? Or an organization that is struggling with acculturation, that, we found out that, our culture is diluted. So you say, at this point, what can we do? Then you say to your management team, to your exco, that one of the things we can do is coaching and mentoring. That if we assign bodies, mentoring bodies, to all our new employees, and that is bodies like BUDDIES. Yeah. If you assign a body to everybody who is coming in, then that body can help with new employees, can help with acculturation, and we can have a more robust new employee orientation program that includes mentoring. That is valuable. Very specific, very precise reason. One of the reasons why a client of ours, and I will introduce them later, implemented a workplace mentoring program was to close knowledge gaps. So you realize that, hey, we have a gap. In this organization, we are all meant to know ABC. But guess what? Only about 12% of us know ABC. The remaining 88% don't know ABC. And we need to know ABC because ABC is critical to our survival. And then you sit with your management, you sit with your exco as a HR leader, and you say, yes, what we can do to bridge this gap, apart from just training people, is to do one-on-one mentoring with people so that we can mentor them to build that specific capability that is lacking in the organization. Organizations also have, and we've had clients in this area that want to focus their their mentoring or coaching programs on just high potential employees. People, remember, Anika, what you said, people who are already driven, people who are already there, people who are already, high flyers, people who are already shooting out all the lights. And what do you want them to do? You want to shoot out all the lights and shoot out even more lights and bring down the building. Yeah? People who are on fire. So you say, look, we've got a group of people that we've identified as high potential employees that are on fire. They're passionate. We want to ignite that passion, take it to the next level, and bring out the best from those people. So what do? We invest in a mentoring program for them. And through that mentoring program, they are able to, build certain skills. Yeah. And they are able to identify even more challenging goals for themselves. And then they are able to achieve those goals. That is the purpose of our mentoring program. Another good example, like I said, around building leadership capability. So it's tied to that one of a succession pipeline, but also we know the importance of leadership. Many organizations underestimate this. They're going into mergers, organizations are going into acquisitions, organizations are rolling out new business strategies for the next 3 to 5 years. And they're not paying attention to the fact that if you don't have the right quality of leaders, if your leaders are not hungry, if your leaders are not ambitious, if your leaders are not driven, then your corporate ambitions and your corporate aspirations will fall flat. Who is going to drive it? Is it this melancholic, laid back people? No, you need leaders that have drive. So you may want to create a mentoring program to help the middle leaders in your organization, for example. You may want to create a coaching program to help your senior leaders to whom you have assigned huge responsibilities. You are assigning them responsibilities for different aspects of your strategy. So you may need a coach to help them individually as they waltz through and meander through the difficulties of these new strategic imperatives that the organization has set. This is a good reason. So if you are in an organization and you are at that point where you are doing something very transformational, new strategy, new investments in technology, new business acquisitions through mergers and acquisitions and so on, then coaching is powerful because your leaders will be going through a lot of conflict, turmoil. They'll be going through a lot of change and they may need coaching to support them. Yeah. If you think that your organization also needs better, stronger interpersonal relationships where you want people to trust their leaders, you want leaders to have confidence in their team members and so on, and you also want to build cross-functional capabilities and cross-functional networks. You want someone in the engineering department to mentor someone in finance, or to coach someone in finance. You want someone in HR to be coaching someone in IT. When you do that, you are creating stronger bonds in the organization, building, more, what they call it, conviviality in the organization. And you're also building more trust across the organization. And you're also fertilizing what we call cross-functional capabilities. So, and many times organizations see this as an imperative. So again, this is a powerful and compelling reason why you should do coaching and mentoring. And very importantly, by no means the least, and certainly not exhaustively, there are still many other reasons, but these are from some of our experiences, is that you want to retain key talent. You want to identify those key talents, those hypo people, and you want to say, beyond just empowering them and challenging them and helping them, you want to use coaching as a means to retain them. You see, because through the intimate conversations that will come out from coaching, they will be able to learn more about the organization, about what the organization really wants for them, what the deepest potentials. By the time executives are coaching hypo managers or executives are coaching hypo middle managers, then those middle managers enjoy that relationship where they go and sit with an exco member, and the exco member sits with them and mentors them and shows them, the promised land, and takes them to the top of the mountain and shows them all that is available to them in their career in that organization. That could be very empowering, and that could make that person want to stay in the organization and continue to add value, right? So, dear friends, of the Champions of HR program, these are a number of examples of what they call it, the purpose of coaching and mentoring. Please, Titilayo, thank you very much for your very kind comments. Please do not do coaching and mentoring because they said so, because it's in a book, because everybody else is doing it. These are the things that we do sometimes as HR professionals that cause us to lose credibility, because our leaders, our ex-school members, our board members, our mancos, they can't see the relationship between this thing you are doing. You're riling us all up. Everybody coaching and mentoring, coaching and mentoring. We help, as we say in Nigerian pidgin. How does this shift the needle? What is the strategic alignment of this initiative? It's not because Harvard Business Review said we should do it. It's not because best practice says we should do it. And it's certainly not because Omar Michel Barrow said we should do it. We need to have a compelling reason and purpose for our coaching programs. So when putting together our programs now, what are some of the key considerations? Like I said, very importantly, clarify your purpose. Be very clear. And you could have multiple purposes, and there's nothing wrong with that. Right? You could have a mentoring program separate from a coaching program, and they can have different purposes and different goals. That's good. Set clear rules and boundaries. Coaching and mentoring, and I use the word, and I was very auspicious when I used that word. I used it on purpose. Can be very intimate. It can be a very intimate relationship. And therefore, you need to set clear rules and boundaries. And our experience suggests to us that this is absolutely important. Where can coaching sessions hold? Where can they not hold? Who can be assigned as a coach? What should be the limits? If you hear something in a coaching conversation, what do you have to report? What remains private? And so on and so forth. So designing your coaching and mentoring program, you need to document a lot of things. There needs to be clear policy and framework that tells the rules and the guardrails and the boundaries. If not, it could be abused. Yeah, people, for example, people can start using coaching and mentoring as a means to blackmail. They start to say, hey, but you're my coach now, you're my mentor now, you have to go and fight for me during appraisal. No, that's not the purpose of the purpose of coaching and mentoring is not to fight for you during appraisal. Yes, coaches and mentors can become very strong sponsors of your case, of your issues in an organization, but it will not turn into what they call this thing, nepotism. Because you are the mentee to the MD, you think you can get away with murder. No. We must put in place clear rules and boundaries and explain those rules and boundaries to everybody in the organization and hold everybody accountable for those rules and boundaries. Matching participants is very important. How do you match the mentor to the mentee for an internal mentoring program? How do you match the coach to the coachee? Yeah? Building the capacity. Remember this from the question earlier from Priya. Building the capacity of coaches and mentors. It's absolutely important. And even setting the expectations for the mentees and the coachees so that they do not misunderstand what is going on here. Yeah? And they not take it for granted or take it to an extent where it shouldn't go. So you need to build the capacity of coaches, build the capacity of mentors, teach them how to go. And we've done these programs for many organizations. We've worked with organizations. Sometimes we were not even involved in the design of the coaching and mentoring. And the only thing they wanted us to come and do was to teach the coaches, teach the mentors, explain coaching and mentoring to the staff, and even provide some coaching to the coaches, because it is through them learning how to coach that they will know how to coach. And the best way to learn how to coach is to be coached yourself. Very importantly, you must put in place measures. This is where, again, HR, we struggle. We're not very good at this, and it ties to that purpose. So remember, there's a purpose for your program. So based on that purpose, what are the measures that you are going to put in place? How will you measure the efficacy and the impact of this mentoring and coaching program? You must have a system. You must have KPIs. You must have numbers. You cannot just say things as lousy as, okay, coaching session held. How many sessions were held? Come on. Before Uncle, apologies to those who don't understand the Nigerian pidgin. But what else were you meant to do? So you have to, because sometimes we put all these measures and they're not very, once you say, oh, how is the coaching and mentoring program? Your MD is asking you, you say, oh, we've had 324 sessions this quarter. Oh, and you expect a thumbs up and a congratulations. No, that's a very weak KPI. Yeah. So I'm sure I've gotten you all thinking now. So what should those KPIs be? Let's look at some examples of KPIs that we have used. Yeah. When working with organizations with coaching and mentoring programs. These are from our own practical interventions with some of our clients. The KPI of all KPIs, profit before tax or revenue per employee. Very simple. If you say that the purpose of your coaching and mentoring program is to drive sales, is to drive productivity, then let's measure it. Let's measure how productive we were before the coaching and mentoring program started, and let's see whether it has moved. Now, all of the increase in profits and the increase in revenue cannot be only attributed to coaching and mentoring, but we can, at least claim some of that glory. And if profits and revenue has gone down, we must share in the loss of saying that, hey, this program has not helped in moving the needle of productivity, or this program has helped to a certain extent. Yeah. So very important. Then you also want to look at if your motive for your for your program was succession. Then you want to say, okay, so how effective has our succession program been? How many more successors do we have in terms of what we call in HR the succession coverage ratio? For every key role that we've identified. Some months ago, we did a session here on succession management, right? So for all your key roles, what is the coverage? How many people? Because you see, it's like, I always remember this Atlanta 96, Nigeria won the gold medal in the Olympics in Atlanta 96. And when I'm talking about this, I'm still getting the goosebumps, right? And some of us who are football fans and who are old enough, because I know there are people here who were not born in 1996 or were still toddlers. But if you remember that Olympic gold medal, go and check out the bench. Go and check out the people that Bonfrejo, our coach, had on the bench. Because you see, the bench of a football team is what tells you whether they will do well. They had they were like 3 complete teams on the bench. You had superstars, what we call super subs. When they come in, they transform everything. That's what it takes to be a winning team. So if you only have one successor for a role, or you have half a successor, one person is sharing here, one person is sharing there, then it's not going to be a very powerful, organization. And then you say, let's do coaching and mentoring so that we can mentor more successors, so we can coach more people into leadership position, and then our succession coverage ratio will increase. How about promotion and confirmation rates? Yes, if your onboarding program is where you need mentoring, if you have put in the mentoring there, then onboarding confirmation rates should improve. Promotion rates should also improve, meaning that people are moving faster. And they're not moving faster just because you feel like promoting people, but because the real performance in the organization is improving. Then you can also look at things like your high potential retention rates or your attrition rates. You see, a lot of HR people, they say attrition, they talk about attrition of all. I don't care about the attrition of never do well, of laggards. We're not interested in those type of. When laggards and never do wells leave our organizations, we go to church and we offer thanksgiving. We go to mosque and we offer some more zakat. We praise the Lord for that. Don't be worried that people who are misaligned are leaving your organization. What we are concerned with in HR are the right people leaving the organization. What we call regrettable exits. That's what we should be measuring. We should also be measuring things like employee net promoter score. Yeah. So if your employee net promoter score is getting higher, then we could say, yeah, all that coaching and mentoring is creating the environment, the positive organization. Remember positive organizational scholarship? Yes. One of the theories we explored earlier. So it's creating that positive organization, and we can see the results. Employee, you know what net promoter score is? It's a simple question. How likely are you to nominate your brother, your sister, or someone you love and encourage them to come and work in our company? How enthusiastic are employees to promote our company? Aha! Promote it to their friends, promote it to their family. I want all my family members to come and work here because this is a great place to work. Aha! That score, the higher it is, then we can attribute it to say, yes, our coaching and mentoring program is working. Finally, but not exhaustively, internal labor or cross-functional mobility rate. Internal labor is how much are we able to, for example, remember the expanding retail supermarket chain? How much are we able to fill vacancies internally? That's internal mobility. Because the more we depend on external hires, the more it is expensive and the bigger the detrimental impact on our culture. So you want more of your, of your talent coming from the inside. I worked at an investment bank called Investment Banking and Trust Company, IBTC, many years ago. And for the 10 years that I was in IBTC, almost, for most of those 10 years, for about 7 years of those 10 years, we never promoted, brought people from outside to be a manager. You would always look from within. And that helped to build a very strong culture in the organization. And that culture became the pivot for IBTC's success. Today it's called Stanbic IBTC, and it's quite doing very well, especially in the pension and asset management, and even waxing stronger in the banking space. Cross-functional mobility rate speaks to, oh, you have someone in engineering, you have someone in IT. If there's a vacancy in commercial, in sales, in customer service, can the person move there? Can people move around? Yes, if that was the purpose of your mentoring program, to build cross-functional skills, then you should be measuring the cross-functional mobility rate. Can you see how these metrics are more powerful than total number of people who have attended the mentoring program this month? What does that really mean? HR people, we have to do better in terms of strategic HR and strategic thinking. Yeah? Finally, today, what are some of the organizations we have worked with here in Nigeria? Just as local examples, the NDIC, which is the equivalent of the US FDIC, or the SADC in South Africa. I believe, Anika, you would have a deposit insurance corporation, I remember, in Trinidad and Tobago, so that's NDIC. We worked with a related company called AMCON, which is the asset management company of Nigeria that is responsible for handling all the bad debts of the banking industry and taking over those bad debts and helping the banking industry to stay clean. We worked with other institutions like Stanbic IBTC, where I used to work before, supporting their coaching and mentoring programs. With Union Bank, one of the large commercial banks also in Nigeria. I think they're just going through a merger now, and we supported them many years ago with their coaching and mentoring program. With Owando, focused on their graduate trainee program and providing mentoring around that. And very interestingly, for Consolidated Breweries, and I put the sign of Nigerian breweries there because Consolidated Breweries, Nigerian breweries are now together. They've now merged, and it's now part of Heineken, the global beer group, right? And beverages, alcoholic beverages group, as they call themselves. And we also did some work with their hypo managers, their high potential managers across graduate, managerial, and senior levels with coaching and mentoring. I would like to give a specific breakdown with NDIC because this was quite an interesting program in the public sector that we can learn from. The problem in NDIC was that there was a generational gap. Now, those of you who are old enough again to remember, in the years of Sani Abacha, who was the president, head of state of Nigeria, between 1993 and 1998, we had this thing where they paused employment. General Abacha was a very frugal person when it came to managing the economy. So one of the things he put was that he put a what's the word? An embargo. He embargoed employment in the public sector. So for a number of years, a number of public sector organizations struggled where there were no new employments. It was up until about 1999 or 2000 that new people started coming in. What that meant was that there was a gap. And for NDIC, it was even more critical because in every country, There's only one deposit insurance corporation. The skills of deposit insurance is very nuanced. It's not like banking. If you paused hiring in banking and came back 7 or 8 years later, you could go out there and see plenty of bankers and bring them in. But for deposit insurance, it wasn't the case. So by 2000, 2001, 2002, they had now hired more younger people. But guess what? The younger people didn't have the skills. And the people who had been hired prior to 1993, let's say in 1991 and before that, were now getting old and were soon to retire. So there was a gap. So the idea of the management of NDIC to solve this problem was to institute and implement a mentoring program. And that's how we came in. Yeah. There was also the imperative of reverse mentoring, meaning that we had these people who came into the organization in the 2000s whose technology skills were much better than those who had been there from the 1990s. So we also saw an opportunity for reverse mentoring. That whereas the senior person, the assistant director, the deputy director, is mentoring this entry-level person, in deposit insurance matters and in risk management and in bank examination matters, that younger person too is using the opportunity to reverse mentor on technology and the use of technology so that the so-called older guys in the office will also catch up, right? So we helped them with the design of the program, the policy framework, the guardrails, the KPIs and the metrics, and we also provided training for all the employees, all the managers who were going to be mentors, all the employees in NDIC, so that they would understand what is expected of them and how to mentor and mentor properly. Yeah, and we provided them tools that they would use to execute their mentoring. So it was a very rich program, something we're very proud of, and we're very happy for the success of that program. So, dear friends, that's really the story. We've spent time this afternoon. Thank you to Adironke who helped us with our learning objectives. Now it's time to look at our learning outcomes. What have we learned? Have we been able to think about the theories in workplace coaching and mentoring? Can we explain some of the concepts of workplace mentoring and coaching and so on and so forth? Do you understand the considerations and the purpose for the design of a mentoring program? I believe you do. As well as the metrics that we can use to implement these programs and show that they are impactful and efficacious. And of course, I just finished sharing with you that case study, those case studies of a few of our clients and the particular example of NDIC. And I hope it's got you thinking about how, workplace mentoring and coaching can actually be used to create, serious value for your organization. Yeah. So as usual on the Champions of HR program, we encourage us to do what? To reflect. Reflective practice is important. So first thing, what have you learned? What are the key learnings and insights that you've taken from this webinar today? Number two, what are the areas that you would like to build up on? What are you excited about? What would you like to learn more, about? And I hope that, you're taking down notes. So this is like me coaching now, because for everybody, the answer is going to be different. But I'm using the same question prompts. And this goes back to pray. You can see how we're using this methodology now. So I'm doing a group coaching now for 31 people or 33 people, right? So I don't know what is in everybody's mind, but by asking you to think about what you have learned and the insights, by asking you to reflect on areas for future development, and then by asking you to write down in your worksheet right now, what are you going to do differently? What are the 3 immediate action steps that you're going to take? This is how we do group coaching. Yeah? So, what do you guys think? Would anybody like to share? I see some comments. Yes, Vivian. Somebody asked, are we going to get a recording? Yes, we always get a recording. Farida, we always get a recording. But Vivian, go ahead. Vivian, go ahead with your question.
Good evening, everyone.
Good
you
evening.
talk about what we have learned. I've been
Yes.
able to take home a lot of things, and up topmost on it is the difference between coaching and mentoring. You know, I fall into the category of people who before now used to interuse both terms and actually think they mean the same thing, coaching and mentoring. But now I've been able to scale it down to know that there's a lot of difference between coaching and mentoring. And like as a coach, you can even coach somebody to become a president, whereas you've never been a president, but as a mentor. And I think that mentoring caught me there, because mentoring is what most organizations actually need. As a leader, as a supervisor, that we used to call it before now, you need to know what you're impacting. If you have never been there, you can't really know where it hurts. You can't really, like the saying goes, it's only that wears the shoes that know where it hurts. So if you have never been there, you've never been at the top, it's a bit complicated for you to mentor somebody into that role. And mentoring is, for me, it's because we need a lot of mentoring. This Gen Z, they are a rare kind of breed, very proactive, very technologically savvy, and they are very good, they're sharp, they are intelligent, but they need to be mentored into the roles that they can fit into. Otherwise, before you know it, our workplace in the future will be like something else where anything goes. People will wear kind of hair to office, red hair, blue hair, whatever. But with a lot of mentoring and guidance, permit me to use that word, we will be able to, match the ages, bridge that gap between the ages, so that we can have a workplace that will strive in future. That's my major take on this today. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks for that insight, Vivian. I mean, you said a lot of things there. Just yesterday, my wife and I we were discussing some of these things about, the new generation of workers. And I always remind people that we are the ones who created that generation. We are their parents, we are their grandparents, and so on. So, we have to take responsibility. However, you've inspired me to make a note about something I would like to post on the group. Nafisa, I will come to you right away. You can put on your mic. There's something I want to post on the group. Powerful case study called Gen Z in the Workplace. It's from Harvard Business Review, from one of my collections of very nice case studies. And if you are on that WhatsApp group, you can take advantage of it. And if you are not on the WhatsApp group, I will encourage my colleagues at Learning Impact to share the link to the WhatsApp group so that you can actually join. So we've got a very active WhatsApp group where we share ideas and challenges and so on. So thanks very much, Vivian, for your question. Let's move on to our contribution. Sorry. Let's move to Nafisa. Nafisa, go ahead. Yes, Nafisa. You need to put on your mic. Okay, let's see. All right. So the recordings are always available on YouTube, right? So perhaps, during the coming week, the recording will be ready to be up on YouTube and it will be available to everybody for a refresher. Please share it with your friends and colleagues and encourage them to join us. I see that my colleague Joy has posted the link to join the WhatsApp group. Nafisa was kicked out, so let's see if Nafisa comes back, and we still have a minute or two to accommodate her question or comments. Nafisa, are you there now?
Yes, I am. Hello.
Okay. Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Yes.
Okay, so I work in the public sector, and we all know the peculiarities of the public sector. And the example you gave with the NDIC of the generational gap, people not understanding the mindset of the younger people is actually a major issue. Because I call the younger generation the Y generation that became the why not generation. And while growing up, they always asked why, but right now they challenge things by saying why not. So the insight I've gained from this program is it's actually possible to bridge this gap, and coaching, mentoring can actually, bridge that gap. And for us, looking at older staff who are admired for certain work ethics, leadership styles, and all that. With the insight I've gained from the program, I'm able to see how it's possible to do that easily, because truly we were lost in the, what's the word? The textbook definitions of just coaching and mentoring. Oh yes, coaching and mentoring is there, we can do it. So I'm really glad to have joined this program, and I look forward to many more. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nafisa, and thanks for sharing that. And thanks that we've been able to impact you, and we look forward to, even creating more impact once you get more involved in our programs. If you check on the chat, you might be able to see the link to join the WhatsApp group if you are not already on the group. And feel free on that group to engage with us. You can reach out to me. I'm also on the group, and whatever we all need on the group, that's what we are here for. We really are here to transform the HR practice. Around us here in Nigeria and everywhere in the world. We've got people joining us all the way, even from Trinidad and Tobago. And we hope to continue through our Facebook engagement and even LinkedIn to ensure that we can, touch as many parts of the world as possible with this very important conversations around strategic human resources management. Yeah. So thank you very much, everyone. I think we have, again, as usual, run out of time. I see one more question. Okay, it's a comment. Yeah, from Priye. Thanks very much. Thank you. Yep. And also be trained as a coach. So Priye is on fire. I can see the transformation already taking place in your organization when you go back. Joy, please feel free to share that link again so that I noticed some participants were in and out. And if Joy isn't there, somebody else can. I'd like to thank all our participants as always. We had a good time. I see some old friends here. I don't want to embarrass them and mention them, but they know themselves. It's very good to see you join us, and thank you for coming. And I also see some new friends and new people that are joining us for the first time. So thank you all very much. And thank you to my colleagues from Learning Impact who work tirelessly behind the scenes to ensure that all of this is possible and is as impactful as it is. And I'd just like to wish you a very good rest of the weekend and a very successful week ahead. Look forward to the slides that will come to you. Look forward to joining the group on WhatsApp, Facebook, and LinkedIn shortly. And then also look forward to the video that will also be available on YouTube. It will be shared, the link will be shared on the WhatsApp group so that you can continue to connect and learn. Thank you all. Take care. Should I sing my favorite song? So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye, goodbye. Oh, shut it, Mr. Barrow. Your voice is terrible.
Goodbye, everyone.